There are moments in life when everything becomes quiet on the outside, yet unbearably loud on the inside. You scroll, you smile, you speak to people, but deep within, something feels heavy. A weight you can't explain. A feeling you can't share. And then, somehow, this reminder reaches you, right at that moment. Not by accident, not randomly, but because Allah, in His infinite knowledge, knows exactly what your heart is carrying right now. You may feel like no one truly understands what you're going through. You might have tried to explain your pain before, only to be met with silence, dismissal, or empty words. So you stopped talking, you started keeping everything inside. But just because people don't understand your struggle doesn't mean it goes unseen. Allah sees every tear you hide, every sigh you hold back, every silence you whisper when no one is around. There is a kind of loneliness that exists even when you're surrounded by people. It's the loneliness of feeling unseen, unheard, and misunderstood. You laugh with others, but your heart feels distant. You participate in life, but inside, you feel disconnected. And in those moments, Shaitan whispers that you're alone, that no one cares, that your pain doesn't matter. But that whisper is a lie. Allah is closer to you than you can ever imagine. Closer than your own thoughts. Closer than your own heartbeat. He knows the words you cannot say. He understands the emotions you cannot explain. Even when your lips are silent, your heart is speaking, and Allah hears it clearly. You are never ignored by Him. Not even for a second. Think about the nights when you couldn't sleep. When your mind kept replaying everything that hurt you. When your chest felt tight and your eyes filled with tears. You may have felt completely alone in those moments. But Allah was there, watching over you, listening to you, waiting for you to turn to Him, not because He needs you, but because you need Him. Sometimes, the pain you carry is something you don't even fully understand yourself. It's not just one problem, it's everything combined. Stress, disappointment, fear, regret. It builds slowly until your heart feels overwhelmed. And in that state, you begin to question everything, even your own strength. But what you don't realize is that the fact you're still holding on is already a sign of strength Allah placed within you. Allah never burdens a soul beyond what it can bear. This isn't just a verse, it's a promise. A promise that your struggle is not pointless. A promise that your pain has meaning. Even when it feels unbearable, even when it feels like too much, Allah knows exactly how much you can handle. And He is the one who will give you the strength to get through it. Your tears are not wasted. Your patience is not unnoticed. Every moment you endure hardship, every second you choose not to give up, every time you turn back to Allah even when you feel distant, it all matters. It all counts. Allah is Al-Alim, the all-knowing. He knows what you show to the world, and He knows what you hide deep within your heart. You may feel forgotten, but you are not forgotten. You may feel distant, but Allah is never distant from you. Sometimes, Allah allows you to feel this emptiness not to break you, but to bring you closer to Him. Because when everything else fades, when people fail you, when the world disappoints you, that's when you realize that Allah has always been there, waiting for you to return. So if you're feeling alone right now, if your heart feels heavy, if your mind is tired, know this with certainty, you are not alone. You were never alone. Allah is with you in your silence, in your pain, in your struggle. And this very reminder reaching you right now is a sign that He has not forgotten you, and He never will. There are moments when your heart feels distant from everything, even from Allah. You make dua, but it feels like your words are not going anywhere. You sit in silence, wondering if anyone truly understands what is happening inside you. But Allah answers this feeling with a powerful truth in the Quran: we are closer to Him than His jugular vein. This is not just a statement, it is a reality that surrounds you every second of your life. Allah's closeness is not like the closeness of people. People can sit beside you and still not understand you. They can listen to your words and still miss what your heart is trying to say. But Allah's closeness is perfect. He doesn't just hear what you say, He knows what you cannot say. He understands the thoughts that cross your mind before you even recognize them yourself. Think about your quietest moments. When no one is around. When you're not speaking. When your face looks calm, but your heart is restless. In those moments, Allah is closer to you than ever. He sees the struggle you hide behind your smile. He hears the silent cries that never leave your lips. You don't need to explain anything to Him, because He already knows. Sometimes you feel like your pain is invisible. Like no one notices how much you're carrying. You might go through your day fulfilling responsibilities, talking to people, acting normal, while inside, you feel like you're breaking. But nothing about your pain is hidden from Allah. Not the heaviness in your chest, not the thoughts that keep you awake at night, not the tears you quickly wipe away before anyone sees. Even the thoughts you are afraid to admit, Allah knows them. The doubts, the fears, the worries about your future, the regrets from your past, none of it is unknown to Him. And this should not scare you, it should comfort you. Because the one who knows everything about you is also the most merciful, the most gentle, the most loving. There are times when you feel like giving up. When your patience feels like it's running out. When you question why things are happening the way they are. In those moments, remember this: Allah is not distant from your struggle. He is fully aware of it. He allowed it for a reason, and He is guiding you through it, even if you don't see the path clearly yet. You don't have to raise your voice for Allah to hear you. You don't have to find the perfect words. Even if your dua is just a feeling, even if it's just a tear rolling down your face, Allah understands it completely. Your silence is heard, your pain is known, your speaks, and Allah listens. Even the tears you hide, Allah has already seen them. Every tear has meaning, every tear is witnessed. Sometimes you cry and immediately wipe your face so no one notices. Sometimes you cry in the darkness of the night, thinking you are completely alone. But you are not alone. Allah is watching over you with mercy, with care, with knowledge of everything you're going through. And when you truly understand how close Allah is to you, something changes inside your heart. You begin to feel less alone. You begin to feel a sense of peace, even if your problems are still there. Because you realize that the one who controls everything is right there with you, closer than your own vein, closer than your own thoughts, closer than anything in this world. So the next time your heart feels heavy, don't hold everything inside thinking no one understands. Turn to Allah, even if it's just with a whisper, even if it's just with a tear. Because He is near, He has always been near, and He will never leave you to face your struggles alone. There are times when the feeling of loneliness becomes so overwhelming that it doesn't make sense anymore. You might be surrounded by people, constantly connected through your phone, always busy with something, yet deep inside, there is an emptiness that refuses to go away. This feeling doesn't come because you are truly alone. It comes from something much deeper, something spiritual that often goes unnoticed. One of the biggest reasons we feel this way is because of how distracted we have become with the life moves fast. Notifications never stop. We scroll endlessly, watch constantly, and fill every quiet moment with noise. But in doing so, we slowly disconnect from the very source of peace, Allah. The heart was not created to be filled with endless distractions. It was created to find rest in the remembrance of its Creator. When that connection weakens, emptiness begins to grow. The strange thing is that the more we try to fill this emptiness with worldly things, the deeper it seems to become. You might chase success, entertainment, validation, or even relationships, hoping that one of these will finally make you feel complete. But no matter how much you gain, the feeling doesn't fully go away. That's because what your heart truly needs is not temporary satisfaction, it needs a connection with Allah, the only one who can bring real peace. Another reason this loneliness grows is because of overthinking. Your mind becomes a place where worries multiply. You replay conversations, think about the future, regret the past, and imagine worst-case scenarios. Slowly, your thoughts begin to trap you. Stress builds, anxiety increases, and your heart feels heavier with every passing moment. And in this state, Shaitan whispers even more, making you believe that you are alone in this struggle. But the reality is very different from what you feel. The distance you are experiencing is not because Allah has moved away from you. Allah is constant. His closeness never changes. He does not abandon you, and He does not forget you. The distance you feel is something that slowly builds from our side when we become too busy, too distracted, too overwhelmed to turn back to Him. Think about it honestly. When was the last time you truly spoke to Allah from your heart? Not just quick words, not just routine actions, but a real, sincere moment where you paused everything and connected with Him. Sometimes, we become so caught up in life that we forget to return to the one who gives life meaning. And without that connection, even the fullest life can feel empty. This is not meant to make you feel guilty, it's meant to help you understand. Because once you understand the source of this feeling, you also understand the solution. The emptiness is not permanent. The loneliness is not your reality, it is a signal, a reminder calling you back to Allah. A gentle push towards something your soul has been missing. Distance is not from Allah, it's from us. And the most beautiful part of this truth is that if the distance came from us, it means we have the power to close it. Allah is always near, always ready to accept you, always waiting for you to turn back, even if it has been a long time. You don't need to be perfect to return. You don't need to have everything figured out. All it takes is one sincere step, one honest dua, one moment of turning back to Allah. And you will begin to feel the difference. Slowly, the heaviness will start to lift. Slowly, the emptiness will begin to fade. Because your heart is finally reconnecting with the one it was always meant to be close to. So if you feel alone right now, don't ignore that feeling. Understand it. Let it guide you back. Because this loneliness is not the end of your story, it is the beginning of your return to Allah. There are moments in life when everything feels suffocating, when the walls seem to close in, when your thoughts become heavier than your chest can, and when silence becomes louder than any noise around you. In those moments, you may feel abandoned, forgotten, and completely alone. But what if your darkest moment is not a sign of abandonment, but a place where Allah's presence is closest to you? What if the silence you feel is not emptiness, but a space where yours is being called back to its Creator? Think about the story of Yunus, a prophet chosen by Allah, yet he found himself in a situation that no human being could ever imagine. He was thrown into the sea, swallowed by a whale, and surrounded by layers of darkness, darkness of the night, darkness of the ocean, and darkness of the whale's belly. If there was ever a moment that looked like complete isolation, it was that moment. No people, no light, no escape, no hope in worldly terms. But even there, Allah was with him. This is something the heart struggles to understand, because we often measure Allah's presence by our comfort. When things go well, we say Allah is with us. But when things fall apart, we start questioning. Yunus, teaches us something deeper, that Allah's presence is not proven by ease, but by meaning. Even in hardship, even in punishment, even in loneliness, Allah does not leave his servant. Inside that darkness, Yunus, didn't scream in panic, nor did he fall into despair. Instead, he turned inward and upward at the same time. From a place where no human could hear him, he made a dua that continues to echo through time. There is no deity except you, glory be to you. Indeed, I was among the wrongdoers. This wasn't just a dua, it was surrender. It was recognition. It was a returning fully to Allah. And what happened next is what changes everything. Allah, the one who controls the depths of the ocean and the of creation, responded to a voice trapped in darkness. No barrier blocked that. No depth was too deep. No darkness was too thick. Allah heard him. Allah answered him. Allah saved him. Not because Yunus, escaped on his own, but because Allah was always there, even when it looked like there was no way out. Now bring this back to your own life. You may not be inside a whale, but you may be inside a darkness of your own. A darkness of anxiety that keeps you awake at night. A darkness of pain that no one understands. A darkness of sin that makes you feel unworthy. A darkness of loneliness where even surrounded by people, you feel empty. And in those moments, Shaitan whispers the same lie, you are alone. But you are not. The same Allah who heard Yunus, in the depths of the ocean hears you in the silence of your room. The same Allah who responded to a whispered dua in darkness is listening to the words you cannot even say out loud. The same Allah who brought Yunus, out of the whale can bring you out of whatever is suffocating your heart right now. The problem is not that Allah has abandoned you. The problem is that pain sometimes blinds us from seeing His presence. We expect help to come in a certain way, and when it doesn't, we assume it isn't there. But Allah's help is not always immediate relief. It is sometimes patience, sometimes strength, sometimes guidance, and sometimes a quiet reassurance that He is still in control. When Yunus, was in the whale, the situation didn't change instantly. The darkness didn't disappear immediately, but something changed inside him first. His heart realigned, his connection with Allah strengthened. And that is often how Allah works in our lives too. Before He changes your situation, He changes your heart. So when you feel like you are drowning in your problems, remember Yunus, When you feel like no one understands your pain, remember Yunus, When you feel trapped with no way out, remember Yunus, Because if Allah was with him in that unimaginable darkness, then your situation, no matter how heavy it feels, is not beyond His mercy. And maybe, just maybe, this moment you are going through right now is not the end of your story. Maybe it is your turning point. Maybe it is your moment to make that sincere dua, that honest connection, that quiet return to Allah. Because sometimes, Allah places you in darkness not to destroy you, but to bring you back to Him in a way you never would have otherwise. So don't let the darkness convince you that you've been abandoned. Let it remind you that even here, especially here, Allah is with you. There are pains in your life that feel unnecessary, heavy, and sometimes even cruel. You look at your situation and wonder why this had to happen to you, why the burden feels so specific, so personal, and so difficult to carry. In those moments, it is easy to believe that what you are going through is a form of punishment. But what if your pain is not meant to break you, but to shape you? What if what you are experiencing right now has a purpose far greater than what you can currently see? Allah tells us in Surah Al-Baqarah 2-286 that He does not burden a soul beyond what it can bear. This is not just a comforting statement, it is a divine promise. It means that every struggle you face has already been measured perfectly for you. Not randomly, not unfairly, but with complete knowledge of your strength, your limits, and your potential. Even when you feel like you are at your breaking point, Allah knows that you are not. The difficulty is that we often judge our strength based on how we feel in the moment. When emotions overwhelm us, when exhaustion takes over, we start believing that we cannot handle what is in front of us. But Allah's knowledge is not limited like ours. He sees the strength in you that you have not yet discovered. He sees the patience you are capable of, that you will gain, and the version of yourself that will emerge after this hardship. Sometimes, the test comes not because you are weak, but because you are strong enough to carry it. Just like a teacher gives harder exams to students who are ready to grow, Allah gives tests that elevate you. These moments are not meant to push you away from Him, but to draw you closer. Every tear, every sleepless night, every silent struggle is known to Allah, and none of it is wasted. It is also important to understand that tests are not always a sign of something being wrong in your life. Sometimes, they are a sign that something is being corrected. Sometimes, they are a means of purification, a way for sins to be forgiven, and a path for your rank to be raised in ways you cannot imagine. What feels like loss may actually be protection. What feels like delay may actually be preparation. Think about how pain changes you. It softens your heart, makes you more sincere and reminds you of your dependence on Allah. Without hardship, it is easy to become distracted, to forget, to drift away. But pain has a way of bringing you back, of making your connection with Allah more real, more urgent, and more honest. There is also a hidden wisdom in the timing of your struggles. You may not understand why things are happening now, why doors are closing, or why plans are falling apart. But Allah's timing is never random. What you are going through is aligned perfectly with what your soul needs at this moment. Even if you cannot see the reason today, one day you will look back and realize that this was exactly what you needed. When you feel like you cannot continue, remind yourself of this truth: Allah knows what you can handle, even when you don't. Your weakness does not cancel out your actual strength. Your doubts do not change Allah's wisdom. Your fear does not reduce His control. You are being carried through this, even when it feels like you are barely holding on. So instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What is Allah teaching me through this?" That shift in perspective changes everything. It turns pain into purpose, struggle into growth, and hardship into a means of closeness to Allah. It allows you to see your situation not as a punishment, but as a path. And maybe the most powerful realization is this: you are not alone in your struggle, and you are not being tested without reason. Every moment of difficulty has meaning. Every burden has wisdom behind it. And every hardship you face is proof that Allah sees something in you worth elevating. So hold on, even when it's hard, because this pain you feel right now is not the end of your story, it is part of your becoming. There are moments when you feel like your voice doesn't go beyond your lips, when your feels too small, too broken, too delayed. You raise your hands, or maybe you don't even have the strength to lift them anymore. You just whisper inside your heart. And you wonder, is Allah really listening to me right now? But Allah answers you directly in the Quran. In Surah Qaf, He says, "Call upon me, I will respond to you." Not, "I might respond." Not, "Only if you are perfect." He promised. And Allah never breaks His promise. Understand this deeply: your dua is never ignored. It is either answered in ways you can see, or in ways you cannot yet understand. Sometimes Allah gives you exactly what you asked for. Sometimes He delays it because the timing is not right. And sometimes He replaces it with something far better, something you could not even imagine. And here is something powerful most people forget: even the dua you never say out loud is heard. The one you keep inside your chest, the one that comes with tears but no words, the one you feel but cannot explain, Allah hears that too. Because He is not just as-Sami, the all-hearing. He is Al-Alim, the all-knowing. He knows the pain behind your silence. Think about that, when you are lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, overwhelmed with thoughts, when your chest feels heavy and your eyes fill with tears, and no one in this world knows what you're going through, Allah knows. Not only does He know, He is listening. Your dua does not need perfection. It doesn't need fancy words. It doesn't need a perfect moment. It just needs sincerity. A broken heart that turns to Allah is more powerful than 1,000 perfect sentences said without feeling. And maybe, just maybe, the reason your dua hasn't been answered yet is not because Allah is, it's because He wants you to stay close. Because every time you make dua, you come back to Him. Every time you whisper, "Ya Allah," your heart reconnects. So don't stop making dua, even if you feel nothing. Even if you feel unheard. Even if it's just one sentence, or even just a tear. Because the one who controls everything heard you the very first time. There comes a point in your journey where the silence feels heavier than the pain itself. You've been making dua for so long, asking, hoping, waiting, and nothing seems to change. Days pass, then weeks, then maybe even years. And slowly, a question begins to form in your heart: why isn't Allah answering me? It's not a question of disbelief, it's a question born from exhaustion. But here is a truth that your heart needs to hold on to: Allah is not ignoring you. When you make dua, something always happens. Always. But the response of Allah does not always come in the way you expect. Because you see from your perspective, but Allah sees everything: your past, your present, your future, and even the outcomes you cannot imagine. What you are asking for might feel right to you now, but Allah knows whether it will truly benefit you or harm you in ways you cannot see. Sometimes Allah answers immediately, and you feel that relief. But sometimes He delays. And that delay is not neglect, it is wisdom. It is preparation. It is protection. It is timing being aligned perfectly in a way your mind cannot yet understand. Think about it: if everything you ever asked for was given to you instantly, without delay, without reflection, would you grow? Would you turn back to Allah as often? Would your heart soften the way it does in? The waiting itself is part of the answer. It builds patience. It deepens your reliance on Allah. It strengthens your connection in a way instant answers never could. There are also moments when what you are asking for is not good for you right now. And out of His mercy, Allah withholds it. Not to hurt you, but to protect you. Just like a child may cry for something harmful, not understanding the danger, while the parent refuses out of love. Allah's wisdom is far beyond what we can comprehend. And sometimes, Allah is preparing something better for you. Something bigger than what you asked for. But that requires time. It requires certain doors to close, certain lessons to be learned, certain growth to happen within you. If He gave it to you too early, you wouldn't be ready for it. So when you feel like your dua is not being answered, remind yourself, delay is not denial. Silence is not absence. Waiting is not rejection. Your dua is heard. Your tears are counted. Your patience is seen. And one day, whether in this life or the next, you will understand why Allah delayed it. And when you do, you won't feel regret, you will feel gratitude. Because you will realize that every delay was actually Allah choosing what is best for you. So don't stop asking. Don't let the silence make you walk away. Keep turning back to Him, because the one you are calling upon has never once ignored you. There are things in your life that didn't happen the way you wanted. You made that never turned into reality, doors you knocked on that never opened. You were so sure were right for you, yet they slipped away at the last moment. And at the time, it hurt. It confused you. Maybe it even made you question, why would Allah take this away from me when I wanted it so badly? But Allah answers this feeling in the Quran. In Surah Al-Baqarah, He tells you, perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows, while you do not know. Let that sink deep into your heart, because this ayah is not just information, it is perspective. It is healing. There are things you wanted that didn't happen, but what if they were never meant to build you, only to break you? What if that opportunity you lost would have taken you further away from Allah? What if that relationship you cried over was actually going to damage you in ways you could not recover from? What if the path you were chasing so desperately was leading you somewhere empty? You see loss, but Allah sees protection. Think about moments in your past. Something you once begged for, something you thought you needed to be happy. And when it didn't happen, you felt disappointed, maybe even heartbroken. But later, months or years later, you realized something powerful. Alhamdulillah, it didn't happen. Because you saw what it really was. You saw what Allah saved you from. This is how Allah's plan works. Not always immediate clarity, but perfect wisdom. And sometimes, what you lose is not replaced right away. There is a gap, a silence, a period where you don't understand anything. That phase is difficult, but it is also where trust is built. Where your heart learns to say, Ya Allah, even if I don't understand, I trust you. Because real tawakkul is not when things make sense. It's when they don't, and you still believe. So when something leaves your life, when a door closes, when a plan falls apart, don't immediately see it as loss. Pause, reflect, remind yourself of this truth. Sometimes what you lost was actually saving you. Saving you from pain you didn't see coming, from regret you weren't ready for, from a future that would have distanced you from Allah. And one day, Allah will replace it, not with something equal, but with something better. Something that aligns with your dunya and your akhirah. Something that brings you closer to Him, not further away. So trust His plan, even when it hurts. There are moments when a person looks at their past and feels a weight so heavy, it becomes difficult to even lift their toward Allah. Mistakes pile up, sins repeat. Passes, and slowly, a dangerous thought begins to grow inside, maybe I've gone too far. It's a quiet whisper, but it's one of the most destructive lies it can believe. Because the moment you think you are beyond forgiveness, you begin to distance yourself from the very one whose mercy has no limits. Think about how Shaitan works. He doesn't just tempt you into sin, he traps you after it. First, he beautifies the sin. Then, when you fall, he replaces the temptation with despair. He makes you feel like returning is pointless. He tells you, after everything you've done, do you really think Allah will accept you? But what he hides from you is this truth. Allah's mercy is not based on how small your sins are, it is based on how His mercy is. There is a powerful story from the teachings of Islam about a man who had taken 100 lives. Imagine that. Not one mistake, not a few, but a lifetime of darkness. If there was ever someone who could feel completely lost, it was him. Yet even with that past, something inside his heart was still alive. A small spark, a desire to return. And that spark was enough. He went searching for someone who could guide him. At first, he asked a man who lacked knowledge, and when he was told there was no hope for him, he reacted out of anger and added another sin to his record. But notice something important here. Even after that, even after reaching what seems like the absolute lowest point, he still didn't give up searching for a way back. Eventually, he found a person of knowledge. And this time, the answer was different. The scholar didn't look at the number of sins, he looked at the door of Allah's mercy. He told him that nothing stands between him and forgiveness except his own decision to return. But he also gave him advice: leave the environment of sin and go to a place where people worship Allah. Change your surroundings so your heart can change. And so this man, who carried the weight of 100 souls, began his journey back to Allah. He didn't wait to become perfect. He didn't delay until he felt worthy. He started walking toward a better path. But before he could reach his destination, death came to him. At that moment, something incredible happened. The angels of mercy and the angels of punishment both came. One group saw his past, the other saw his intention. And Allah, in his perfect justice and mercy, commanded that the distance be measured, whether he was closer to the land of sin or the land of righteousness. And by the mercy of Allah, the itself was ordered to shift. The distance was shortened, just enough, so that he would be counted among those who turned back. A man whose life was filled with darkness was accepted because of a sincere step toward light. Let this settle deep in your heart. This is not just a story, it is a message. If a person with that past was not turned away, then who are you to think that your sins are too much? Who told you that your mistakes are greater than the mercy of the one who created mercy itself? Sometimes the real problem is not the sin, it's the shame that keeps you stuck. You feel embarrassed to make dua. You feel unworthy to stand in salah. You think, how can I ask Allah for anything after what I've done? But understand this, Allah already knows everything you've done, and He still invites you to come back. Returning to Allah does not require perfection. It requires sincerity. It requires that moment where your heart breaks, not because you got caught, but because you know you disappointed the one who loves you more than anyone else ever could. That broken feeling, that regret, that is not weakness. That is the of your return. And don't wait for a perfect time to come back. Shaitan will always tell you to delay. Start tomorrow, fix yourself first, then return. But tomorrow is not promised. The man in the story didn't even reach his destination, yet Allah accepted him because he took the step. Maybe you've been for a long time. Maybe your connection with Allah feels weak. Maybe your past feels too heavy to carry. But listen carefully, distance is not measured by how far you've gone, it's measured by whether you're willing to turn back. Allah is not waiting for you to become someone else. He is waiting for you as you are, with your flaws, your mistakes, your brokenness. He does not ask you to erase your past before coming to Him. He asks you to come so He can erase it for you. There is no sin too big, no past too dark, no too damaged. As long as you are breathing, the door of Tawbah is open. And the moment you sincerely turn back, Allah doesn't just accept you, He replaces your sins with good deeds. So don't let your past define your future. Don't let Shaitan convince you that you're too far gone. You are not lost, you are just one sincere step away from being found again. You're not too far gone, you just need to turn back. Start by slowing everything down. Not your whole life, just your prayer. When you stand for salah, don't rush like it's a task to complete. Stand as if you finally arrived somewhere safe after a long, exhausting journey. Let every word come out with awareness. Even if your focus slips, gently bring it back. Feeling Allah's presence begins when you stop treating prayer as a routine and start treating it as a meeting. Sometimes the problem isn't that we don't pray, it's that we pray without presence. Your body is there, but your heart is somewhere else. You're thinking about your problems, your stress, your future. But what if you turned that into connection instead of distraction? What if, in sujood, instead of rushing up, you stayed a little longer and whispered everything weighing on your chest? You don't need perfect Arabic. You don't need perfect words. You just need honesty. Allah already knows what you're feeling, but He loves to hear it from you. Speak to Him in your own language, from your own pain, with your own voice. That sincerity is more powerful than long, memorized phrases said without feeling. Make dua like someone who truly believes they are being heard. Not like you're speaking into emptiness. Not like you're unsure. Speak like a servant standing before the most merciful. There is something deeply transformative about raising your hands and knowing the one you're calling never ignores you. The more honest you are in your dua, the closer you will feel. Stop filtering your emotions. If you're tired, say it. If you're lost, admit it. If you're broken, cry it out. Allah is not waiting for perfection, He is waiting for your truth. And that truth is what opens the door to His presence. The Quran is another way to feel that closeness, but not just by reading it quickly. Slow it down, even if it's 1 ayah a day. Read it like it's speaking directly to you, because it is. When Allah says He is near, believe that it includes you. When He speaks about mercy, believe that it's meant for your situation too. Consistency matters more than intensity. You don't have to suddenly become someone who prays all night and reads hours of Quran. Start small, a few minutes of focused prayer, a short, sincere dua, a single ayah read with reflection. These small acts, when done regularly, begin to soften the heart. And when your heart softens, you start to notice something beautiful. You don't feel as alone anymore. Not because your problems disappeared, but because you feel accompanied through them. You start to sense that Allah is with you, guiding you, hearing you, responding in ways you didn't even expect. There will still be days when you feel distant. That's part of being human. But don't let that stop you. Keep showing up. Even if your heart feels empty, keep turning back. Because the act of returning itself is a sign that Allah is pulling you closer. You don't need perfection to feel Allah's presence. You don't need to fix your entire life first. All you need is sincerity, a real intention to connect. Because when your heart is sincere, even the smallest act becomes something great in the sight of Allah. So don't wait until you feel ready. Start now, exactly as you are. Pray slowly, speak honestly, read with reflection, and remember this deeply: you don't need perfection, just sincerity. Slow down, just for a moment. Not everything needs to move fast right now. Not your thoughts, not your breathing, not even your heart. Just pause and sit with this question, not as something to answer quickly, but something to truly feel. When was the last time you spoke to Allah honestly? Not the quick doers you say out of habit, not the memorized words you repeat without thinking, but a real conversation. A moment where you opened your heart completely, without filters, without pretending, without trying to sound perfect. Think about it. When was the last time you told Allah exactly how you feel? About the stress you don't show anyone, the sadness you hide behind a smile, the thoughts that keep you awake at night. When was the last time you just said, Ya Allah, I'm tired? Pause there, because many people talk about Allah, but they don't talk to Him. Many people remember Him in routine, but forget Him in vulnerability. And yet, that is exactly where the connection is strongest. Allah does not want a performance from you. He wants your honesty. You don't need perfect words. You don't need long speeches. Sometimes the most powerful dua is just a whisper, or even silence filled with tears. Pause again, right now, in this very moment. If you were to raise your hands, what would you say? Would you hold back? Would you hesitate? Or would you finally let everything out? Because here is the truth your heart needs to hear again, slowly, deeply. Allah is always there, always listening, always near. Not sometimes. Not only when you're strong. Not only when you're perfect. Always. When you feel lost, He is there. When you feel broken, He is there. When you feel like no one understands, He understands. Even though you cannot say, He already knows. So why keep it inside? Why carry everything alone when you were never meant to? Take this moment, not later, not tomorrow, now. Even if it's just in your heart. Speak to Him. No audience, no judgment, no barriers, just you and Allah. And remember this, as it echoes softly within you. Allah is always there, always listening, always near. And now, as this reminder comes to an end, don't rush away. Stay for just a few more moments. Let everything you've heard settle gently into your heart. Because if there is one truth you carry with you after this, let it be this. You were never alone, not even for a second. Not in your darkest nights. Not in your silent struggles. Not in the moments when you felt completely unseen. Allah was there. He heard every thought you couldn't express. He saw every tear you tried to hide. He knew every pain you carried quietly. And even when you felt distant, He never left you. So don't let this just be another video you watched and moved on from. Let this be a turning point, a moment where something inside you shifts, where your relationship with Allah becomes real again. Now, take a deep breath, and let your heart make this dua sincerely. Ya Allah, ease our pain. Ya Allah, heal the parts of us that no one sees. Ya Allah, forgive our sins, those we remember and those we forgot. Ya Allah, don't let our hearts drift from you. Ya Allah, bring us closer to you in a way that changes our lives. Ya Allah, replace our sadness with peace, or with comfort, or with strength. Ya Allah, guide us when we are lost, and hold us when we feel like breaking. Ameen. And remember, no matter what you face after this moment, no matter how heavy life feels, Allah is always there for you, so don't forget Him. And if this reminder touched something deep inside your heart, don't just scroll away like nothing happened. Let it mean something. Take a second to like this video, share it with someone who might be silently struggling, and subscribe for more reminders that bring you closer to Allah. Because someone out there might need this, just like you did.